Take two. Welcome back. Hope you had a good lunch break. Without further ado, what I'd like to do is to introduce us to our keynote for this afternoon. Alex Nicoll, CEO and founder of Bizvu. And Alex is going to look at how using lean principles can help to adapt, innovate, and optimize business operations. So, Alex, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonathan, and thank you, team. We've already just used some lean principles to move this presentation onto a more simpler start. Good afternoon, Summit. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you again, all but not face-to-face this year. Last year, obviously, I was with my compatriot Dirk, presenting to you all at Mercedes World, and we were very privileged to do so. And I think anybody who went there would probably agree it was a hell of a session and a great venue. So it's a shame we can't be there this afternoon. However, on a few of the slides I've got a bit of automotive in there to remind us of what we had last year. Talking about reminding, I guess, I wanted to start. I don't know if many people have seen David Silk's presentation yesterday, another great keynote. He mentioned about some of the slides he presented, almost 12 months ago now. And when I was asked to do this presentation around using lean instead of discussing why we needed things like lean for disruption purposes and how we spoke about things that we had done in the marketplace, I started by looking at last year's slides and started to look at some of the products that we had exposed to clients since then, and to see if we had pinned our colours to the mast and very much push out some of what we try to preach to our customers. And for lots of reasons, that is very true. We have really underpinned lots of organizations wanting to develop lean and digital techniques and processes. I think it's fair to say that what's happened over the last 6 months was quite unexpected. I think just by the showing of this event being digital and how the team at Britannic have moved to a complete digital model for such a big summit shows that actually we can practice what we preach as suppliers, as well as actually helping our own clients and customers along this journey. So it's a shame we're not Mercedes World, but I would still like to pay thanks to Sheridan, Jonathan, the gang to making this whole thing still possible and giving us a nice chance to case roll some of the things that we're doing now with some customers that are both joint, direct, and what we do with other partners as well. So I've got a few stories to tell. I've got a few takeaways, a few giveaways, if you like, on how we can adapt, how we can innovate, and how we can optimize. I think it's fair to say, lean means different to lots of different organizations, where they use it, where they don't use it, why they use it. And what sort of tools that they use. There's all sorts of different tools out there. There's black belt there's design thinking, and all sorts. There's lean startup tools. You can build MVPs, you can do proof of concepts, you can do prototyping. But I think when it really comes down to it, for all of us that use these tools, it needs to be a pragmatic approach to using lean tools, to being able to adapt more quickly and optimize your business where you can show value as quickly as possible. So we're going to go through why we should use lean tools, where we should use them, and how to start using some of these tools quickly. So First giveaway, straight into value to give you something. I was thinking about this over the last week or so, and I took I built an analogy that we actually used with the client for a slightly different purpose, but it seems to me it fits quite well with the lean processes and why you should do lean, especially around things like customer experience. Let's just take a look at a bus. Let's use that as a model for using things like lean in customer experience. The truth of the matter is customers are now the judge. They decide whether they are getting value from your organization. It doesn't matter if you sell products or services. It's no longer an option not to give excellence if that's where it's required. So actually, and we take this bus model, and if we apply that to our customer processes, we start saying, okay, does our customer have any control about the bus? Do they have any control on its maintenance regime? Do they have any control on its route? Do they have any control on the seats within inside? And so forth and so forth. The truth of the matter is the only control they really have with you guys is decide to whether get on the bus or not. So actually, when we start looking at our customer experience processes, if they don't like the look of the bus, they don't like the route it's going on, or they don't like how often it's maintained, or that it doesn't stop at the right places, they will let you know and they will vote. You will become very transferable, and they will move away to other organizations. So actually, the reason now we need to really start looking at things like lean is to be able to be more agile, to be more flexible, to test, to validate and verify new processes, and see what wins and pivot very quickly to be able to do that. We've got many organizations, some of which I'll be talking about this afternoon, where we have done this. So whether the bus analogy works for your organization or not, one of the giveaways and takeaways from this we would like you to see and do is actually think of an analogy that does work for your organization, that does emphasize some of the things that you would like to do with your organization, so you can put yourself in the customer shoes. We've heard a lot about customer mapping, journey mapping, standing in the shoes of the customer, the voice of the customer. But I think you need to actually start building and understanding the customer yourself. The ease that your customer finds about getting a competitor is the basic premise how well positioned you are, how well you can evolve things and how quickly you can evolve things to make sure that you're delivering the sorts of value you want. And if you're looking at offering services with premium prices, whether it's a digital service or a product, you need to make sure that you can continuously learn. We heard from Amy this morning a couple of things that I took from Amy's keynote speech. The first thing was about communication, was about standard terms, making sure that we all understand and we were reading from the same page and the same book. That is absolutely key. But the other thing was about continuous improvement and learning. We need to do this. This isn't a destination. This is a continuous approach that we need to do. We will never get there anymore. And there's some good thought leadership now about how we use lean to outthink and outlearn our competitors. So again, I think that's something key that we can look at. So using an analogy and embedding it into your organization will help you. It will help you evolve. It will help you create a playbook and explain to different parts of the business why you need to do something. Why is a big question. Agile, again, what is the why? Let's start with the why. We'll move on to the what and end up with the how. The how can be frustrating. People like to go to the how because the how is where all the sexy technology is. But actually understanding the why, the big problems, the business challenges, and what we may want to do quickly is absolutely key. One of the things that we did, and you probably heard, anyone who's watched a number of these presentations so far, was Neil Whitaker on Sunspot. They had a big why. Their customers were moving away because of COVID, and they were no longer buying holidays, and they had other whys, and it dawned on them that actually they needed to do something different very, very quickly, whether it be onboarding chatbots, whether it be using WhatsApp, whether it be tying interactions and using automations to be able to pump out information to their agents very quickly. So the why is forever changing. It is different for everybody. How do you want to do business? What is your position? How does it affect your position? Telcos used to take 18 to 20 months to expose a new product, because that product wasn't just the customer experience. It's quite frustrating, as one of the guys at O2 and Telefonica told us. He said, because we released this new product that took us 18 months, and it was something like free text messages, 60 minutes and XYZ. And he said within 2 weeks, another telco had released a new product and service, and it took them so long. And they were some of the trailblazers in product releasing, onboarding of new products and services, and all the things that were connected and linked all the way from running lean processes. So you need to find out your why and understand. Obviously in the mobile operating space, their why was they needed to have the offer. The reason they found out so quickly was from their customers. Their customers were leaving them. So they used something which is the fundamental essence of intelligence. It's pattern matching. So they quickly looked at the patterns and started to understand every single time one of their competitors released a new product offering, they would get people leaving them to go to a bundle that had unlimited text and unlimited voice and so forth. So we need to understand our why and how we do business and how we will operate in the future, and then map some of those business challenges end to end, understand how they relate to each other. Another takeaway is, with that in mind, how do you productize? How do you systemize things quite quickly? How do you find out what will work and what won't work, and how do you then test that? Well, we're currently working with a major national, and in fact now global, gym that actually had to have 500 gyms opened with a week's notice after COVID. And one of the things they wanted to do, with still half their workforce on furlough and other schemes, they wanted to be able to reduce that time and that effectiveness and efficiency of those customer interactions. So they came to us, a long-term client, and they said, can we set up a lean way, a lean test to really quickly, how can we reduce that time? And one of the things that they actually came up with, because what we do, we don't tend or pretend to know people's businesses better than them. So we work up very quickly, we facilitate, and we pull out all the business challenges and business issues, and then we categorize these very quickly, and we look at hypothesis and solution candidates going forward. And what we did from that was say, okay, what we need is something that we can plot it quickly, pick up, a bit like an F1 team when they're changing the front of a car. We need to be able to pick this up and shove it onto different channels and pretty quickly. So that's what we did, and that happened to be for them ID&V. So we created an automated approach for ID&V across all their textual digital channels, and we've started exposing and releasing that quickly now. So the amount of time and the process for pushing stuff into their Vital Contact Center has been vastly optimized. Again, this was a great project. It went really quickly, and really enjoyed the fact that they were able to make those decisions. Decision making is something that leaders actually do. They probably need more help in doing it. They probably need to come up with some sort of pro forma on how to make business decisions. I read recently a great article about 1,300 most successful business leaders that make decisions in the entrepreneurial and expert sectors. every 99%. After that 1340 or 1360 people surveyed, only 6 people said that they would make no decision. They all made a decision, but what they had in the background was the ability to make a secondary decision mapped out, ready to go. So actually they're making the first decision wasn't difficult because they knew what success looked like from having a backup. So again, another takeaway there, let's productize things, whether it is decision making or whether it's just something they want to do. So we also use things called when, and we took them through. So when you want to change something quickly, when your contact center is being flooded by customers coming through, how do I do something? So we went through all these and we started mapping them out. This took all but a day to deliver, and then we spent a bit more time running up the prototype to see what it could look like. And then obviously when it was successful and the hypothesis was proved and validated, or the next candidate was moved on to, then we start moving on to productizing. So adapting, innovating and optimizing when you have got some of these tools in the background is a lot easier. It makes it more comfortable for people to step off that. And we sort of asked some of these questions. When was the last time that you actually stepped on you stood on a stone, you stepped out into the unknown? It's very few times that actually organizations doing it. And I think actually, I don't know what the percentages are, but if you were probably to look at what's happened in the last 6 months due to COVID, I'm pretty sure we have probably moved 6 years in digital transformation with most organizations wanting to do something. And I know from our side, we've had probably more clients wanting to do projects in the last 3 to 6 months than we probably had in the 4 to 5 years before that. So definitely, these things need to be adjusted. I don't think you need any one methodology. I think actually building something up that works for you is also a good thing to do. I think the other thing that needs to happen is understand how your business operates. Understand how the values, the purpose, and there may be more than one purpose, there might be multiple purposes, and there might be multiple missions, but how that all impacts with your vision. We go through this quite a lot with clients, making sure that something that we build in a very quick way still maps the organization's values, and make sure that that is articulated before we get onto the how, the technology part of it. And I think there's just something actually we built up on the right hand side, to take people through it. The vision and values, these are the tangible, these are your beliefs, these things don't change, these values should always be with your organization. This is what makes you guys you. Your purpose, is the reason you exist. So if that is just a line of business, that is what you're there to do. That should all link into these missions, or multiple missions, on what you're trying to achieve with your customer and your client. And when you do things that are lean, you need to make sure that these aren't broken. We hate things like silos. I'll get onto that a little bit more, probably have a rant about that a bit later on. But actually, we do need to make sure that certain things that make you special understood. I think Jonathan mentioned in his first, in one of the first presentations about people and where they fit in. Technology and innovation isn't everything. Some of this can be around culture. Some of this can be some of the things that your organization can do. Sometimes when we look at the frameworks with people and how we prototype rapidly within a day, understand all these things, some of those prototype bits will be manual. They will be understanding stuff. They might be using PowerPoint to see if what we've developed will work. But actually doing nothing is something we just can't consider. We just need to consider it within our overall framework, so we don't break things. We also look at things within here on why we're doing stuff with those. So is it a hobby? Are you acting like a hobby in how you operate with your clients and customers, or is it a job? If it's a job, obviously that's quite good. It means you're making money out of it. A hobby normally costs you money. So we try to work up with organizations, so we turn it into something that's an enterprise. So your customer experience is actually adding value. It's not just doing something from a point of view of a job, or actually losing money, which could be a hobby. It's actually providing additional value. So this improves employee experience and why they're getting involved as well, to see how they benefit and what value they add. We've had some lovely quotes back more recently from customer experience agents actually saying, I'm actually doing what I was hired to do. And this goes back 2 or 3 years now for us. We've had this quite a few times from different organisations, but saying I'm now doing something that I was meant to do. I'm not just on a call or in a chat with people moaning at me. So I think actually, lots can be derived from actually business alignment when doing things like lean. Another takeaway I want to give people, and this doesn't have to be, and please don't see this as a silo. This is more about an approach. Having just said that everything is related, I think what we need to understand that actually there does need to be some thinking, and we like to do it in these simple terms. It's about getting the right solution before we go on to the doing, which is getting the solution right. Okay, it's quite simple. It's a design thinking concept that we take all the way through. So when we start looking at thinking, we start looking at what is the problem we're trying to solve, and what could I do? What should I do? What will I do? And we use this to grab all things. So we don't start spending time and money on something that won't solve that problem. The doing is more about the how. It's the productization of some of that prototyping, whereas we see the thinking much more around that strategy, around that roadmap, and so forth, in a very quick way. It's also about allowing you to create internal capital to be able to do the next thing. So if we do some thinking, it may take a day, and we might capture loads and loads of issues, business challenges, and so forth, and the inspiration to do something. Once we have done that, it's about then solutionizing and looking at some of these, and then categorizing and putting these things into some sort of priority order, and then prototyping it. That's all the way to the finishing off a design sprint, which might take a day, and the thinking might take a day. The actual doing could even be a separate partner. It could be a separate technology stack, but let's not get hooked up on the doing. Okay, so thinking v doing is something that we very much push quite hard. We also push quite hard that actually, after saying expertise and intelligence is basically pattern matching, and pattern matching is used to understand how intelligent kids are at a very young age, but even before they can speak. That's why they have these cards that you can show 3 cards, 2 of which are frogs and one's a goat, and kids do. They always point out the one that's different. It's reverse pattern matching, but all in all, it's still pattern matching, and it shows off intelligence. We use that pattern matching. We go to lots of organizations and we look at some of the things that are going wrong. I honestly believe the majority of organizations I could go into now and understand where they're having issues, whether it would be customer experience for things like IVR, IDMV, product onboarding, releasing new products, and so forth. So we have loads and loads of data that we use with lots of organizations, and we use some of that. And I think the model used to be very much either do it yourself or get a big organization to do it for you. So the DIY or the DFY, we very much think it's DWY, which is do it with you. And the reason we do that is that we don't pretend to know your business better than you. However, we do have lots of insights and critical thinking to bring from elsewhere. And we also think it's very, very difficult for you to read the label on the outside of the jar when you're standing inside it. So another takeaway would be, use partners wherever you can, especially if they have particular expertise, because actually that's what you're paying for. That's the premium that you're paying your partners for, is actually solving that problem with the intelligence that they have, that they've captured for a number of years. This stuff doesn't have to take weeks and weeks. Gone are the times where you have large presentations and strategies that have been developed. I was lucky or unlucky enough to work for the London Underground for a while as a consultant, external independent consultant doing assurance for the financial director who ran IT. And I can remember clearly she took a strategy that was written by a well-known organisation, and she threw it straight in the bin. And she just said, "I can't believe you spent 8 weeks developing a strategy that this organisation will never be able to execute." So we make sure that when we develop this thinking, it's appropriate, it's quick, it's agile, it's lean, and it will fit into your organisation. So again, if you've got some partners or if you need them, you should always look with them. We try to leave things behind wherever possible. Please take that as another takeaway. Something else that we typically look to do is to help organisations build a process and framework for delivering stuff themselves. Okay, so we quickly understand and we take a business challenge and we understand that process and everything that happens prior to that process, within or during the process and post that process, to make sure that we have everything that we need. And again, what we do is we collate all the information very quickly. We then have to connect the information and understand where it fits in and how it relates to other systems or other processes or other customers or any of the dependencies that you may have, to make sure that we've understood all the gaps, all the assumptions, all the interdependencies, and so forth. Then we start looking at the transformation on how we synthesize off the back of that to make something more intelligible and bigger than all the issues and challenges that we had before, to really move things forward. And we do this again in a quick, agile way by using workshops, getting people and representatives, subject matter experts into a workshop, and that probably takes two or 3 hours to collate all the information and start looking at those candidates. We then look at a strategy where we start connecting to your architecture, your platform, and the other information flows and so forth. And then we start looking at the prototyping. So these things can take a number of days, not weeks. And then we start looking at the design sprints and the product sprints for how you can take this out and roll it out, making sure that we've taken the prior, during, and post process subroutines into account. So what is an output? What is a framework? What is the mindset and tools that we're trying to use? We take them through this process, and you'll see, quite quickly, as I mentioned earlier about a big gymnasium organisation. They wanted to automate this IDMV thing. So what we had to very quickly do was come up with a scope that we could all agree, come up with a success criteria that everybody was bought into, and we had to make sure that we got a decider on the team. So this team was, these things can be, really, really agile. We're talking about 3, 4, 5 people, but the mentality and the approach was making sure that we've got the people that are the right people to do this. And the truth of the matter with all these different transforming things is some of the people that you need to deliver this are some of the people that are the busiest in your organization, but needs must, where the challenges and business problems are as big as they have been over the last few months. So we got what we wanted. We agreed a scope. We agreed statement of works and success criteria. So we could build out the design sprint, and we proved it within a couple of days. Everybody was happy, and then we started looking at that productization. So how we could take it. This particular proof of concept was just taking a few hundred per day, and now we've got thousands and thousands every morning. Of these interactions being automated and sent through to the Mitel contact center. So you need to make sure, and we've got a 15-step process to do this. We assign owners. Yes, these things do cost money, but actually you're spending on money on things that have got a proven ROI. So typically, it's a lot easier to create a mandate moving forward. Back to the motor racing. As you can tell, I like motor racing and cars, hence we're always down at Mercedes World. But this is actually from Le Mans. I thought, since we can't go and look at nice cars, I will bring some nice cars to you guys. So that's what I did here. I've used a few pics, but you need to understand before you start some of this approach things that can slow you down. Okay, things that you need to take account of all the time. And one of them I mentioned earlier is silos. You can look at this picture and you could say, this guy's working on his own. What's he going to do? Is he going to hand this car over, to the driver next? How's it going to work? Is he working in a silo? In this instance, he wasn't. These guys at in racing have got it down to a T. They're just focused, and I think focus is something that we really must be better at. Organisations, it seems to me, still have silos. We still throw stuff over to the customer services team, who thrust, and if pressured enough, they will start throwing some of that back to customers. Whereas actually, if we're wanting to build a light framework where we can all achieve something quickly, we need to pull down the walls. The silos are evil. We need to get rid of them. Silos. Just think of it as COVID in slow motion. That's what silos are. You have them all the time. We all hate COVID. We want it to go. But actually, we should start thinking of as silos as COVID, because actually it's breaking and it's stopping you innovate. It's stopping you making decisions. All it does is allow people to operate on their own. They think they're empowered when actually they're the reverse. So what I like to look at is what will actually make it succeed. Start looking at what's winning, the mentality. We like to work with your organisation because nobody knows your business better than you. What we try to do is facilitate those things coming out in a smooth, categorised, prioritised way. Some of the things that we would like to see people do more of is engage your team. Select an inspiration for doing something, understand that inspiration end to end. You can then hypothesize and ideate. Select a candidate solution, test, verify, and by doing successful, what it allows you to do is create an ongoing mandate within your organization. And then things like budgets become easier, decision making comes easier. I think, with things like another quick takeaway for your decision making, the facts are that if you make no decision within a certain period of time, you're in a worse state than if you'd made the wrong decision. So actually having that mandate and protocol, as we talked earlier, is only going to help you. So we need to start making decisions about doing something and changing our organisation. So to finish up, another car. Not everything is what it seems. And actually, this car looks like an old car. But let's not get stuck up on old technology, old cars. It's actually a brand new car, which probably goes against what I'm about to say. But just to show you, don't be fooled on the outside. There are no excuses. You don't need to worry about the tools that you currently have. there are many hows that can get around aging technology, or what we call big systems of record that are monolithic. There are ways around that. We build front ends to the back end, back ends to the front end. We build digital wrappers. We build digital records to move away from CRMs, and all sorts of different integrations. So let's not worry about the how. What we need to worry about are moving forward. What we need to do, we need to inspire the interested and help the unaware to make sure that we can move things forward. If we can give people enough faith and confidence that this is working, and we can then build an open-minded team that will do wondrous things and engage with many partners and internal partners to deliver innovation in a quick and agile way, and I'm sure at low cost, making you less interchangeable with your customers, and making you more have a greater ability to actually add new products and services that may be your own or others, and actually innovate your business models as well as your organizations. So I think the biggest takeaway from this for me is give it a go, and whether you've got people that can help you or not, you can find them. If you've got people internally that want to be trained up, you can get them trained up. If you've got technology or not that are allowed to do this, you can get technology to do this. So we're big advocates of doing something, experimenting, and validating. So that's all I had to say, based on lots of customers where we can prove this model works in a flexible, in a cost efficient, and process effective way. Jonathan, over to you.
Thank you, Alex. Great insights. If you can turn the stop sharing the slides, that would be great. So I think for me, it's we live in a very, very fast paced changing world, and as we know and we've heard about many times before, unfortunately the pandemic COVID has thrust greater change upon us, and the speed of transformation has been incredibly rapid. Couple of points there, I think very, very interesting, Alex, and important to pick up on the equal measures, the thinking and the doing. Absolutely critical to understand the why and what you're trying to achieve, the problems you're trying to solve, and then it is about the doing. Don't be afraid to get started. We've worked very successfully together since the last summit, right? It's a lot of projects that we've delivered together, a lot of change programs that we've helped customers with. And I think for me, a good term to sum this up is innovation without execution is just ideation. It's just ideas, right? So if we want to see the true benefit that can be achieved for our businesses, for our customers, and for our colleagues, we need to get started. We need to embrace this stuff. So, some really good insights and suggestions. Thank you. So, just having a look, if we've got some questions, please pop them up into the chat. I'll pick up the first one that I can see there, and if you've got any others, please keep going. So, I'll read this out for you, Alex. Have you got any examples of your 15-step process? Keen to understand how you go about building your framework into a large organization, and how many processes and outmoded project annual planning such as waterfall.
Yeah, so we've got many examples where we've used this framework, and some of this framework has actually been left in many organisations, some of which have been governmental bodies. I think Amy told us quite a lot about those earlier. So yes, we've got many examples that we can share. I would and potentially can introduce people. We've also just done an industry leader for the motoring organisation. Again, it's been well received. So we've also applied some of these tools actually into organisations that are waterfall as in big tier 1 construction companies, and that did provide some challenges because they're so used to 6,000 lines on a Microsoft project, and they kept saying, well, how do we use this? We can't build before we've done foundations. And I said, well, I don't think you actually need to apply it to your foundations. That's a different process. But yes, happy to share some frameworks that we have, and happy to talk to any organisations on how we can help them.
Okay, Christian, we can pick this up later and happily arrange an introduction. Question from Amy. So, what tools do you use to persuade organisations to spend enough time to understand the problem they're trying to solve, when often investment comes with unrealistic expectations of immediate results?
Tools. Well, we actually we use the people themselves. So when we're capturing business challenges and problems, we facilitate, and we have things called scribes where they write stuff down on all sorts of things. But we actually allow them to come. We facilitate them to come to some of the answers themselves. And once we've connected all the issues they're having, so they can actually understand them in the round and in their entirety, they do actually start coming to some of those answers themselves. We do see ourselves as facilitators in them solutioneering themselves. It can be anything from we're having issues with our environment because people have been noisy in the customer services team. We're trying to do blah blah blah. You can come up with loads of solutions yourself by facilitating properly and asking them, would this work, would that work, have you thought about this, and so forth. So we do actually use them themselves as tools. So I think actually experience and expertise cannot be undone here. And again, as I talked about the pattern matching there, and because we've been to so many organizations where we've done things now, we do bring some of those inspirations in their own right with us and actually push those back. Would it work if? I think it's Procter & Gamble have this they coined the phrase HMW. It's called the how might we's. And how might we solve this? How might we do that? And they build it into their management teams. So we do that ourselves as well. We try and take some of these leading small tools and techniques to be able to take people through to an approach where they're more comfortable getting that management buy-in. We've had to do this with utilities, with heavy union input. And we had to get away from some of the issues of are you doing time recording, time and motion studies, blah blah blah, and we weren't. We had to very much show them where we're solving that problem.
And I think certainly a takeaway from me from working closely with Alex over the last year on a number of customer projects is, yes, definitely it's important to understand. It's important to identify the problem that we want to solve. When we're looking at the problem and the outcome, it becomes a lot easier to underpin that with technology. And certainly what we've been doing is, there's a number of common components that we have that has actually helped us to accelerate some of the value that we've delivered to clients. So, to be in a position where we had a conversation with a customer and the first demonstration to actually having a live system where we started to deliver some results within 5 days, the Craig David solution, I've been told now. But to be able to deliver that level of value in that short space of time is testament to not just the capability of the thinking, but a lot of the investment in the technology, the components, and the platforms to be able to support customers.
For sure. And if we really do get the thinking right, the doing does become so much easier, because unrealistic thinking and expectations, as Amy's put, it does happen all the time, especially in IT projects. We all know about it. We hear it all the time. Yeah, actually, with the right mindset and the right thinking, you can deliver stuff quite quickly. You do need to, like Agile MVP, you've got to be very clear. Again, that comes down to some of the communication. You need to box things up. You need to say, this is success criteria. This has got design life like anything else. if it's a prototype or it's an MVP, we've designed it for a life that suggests it will do 20,000 transactions per minute, blah, blah, blah. So when you're doing 80,000, expect to spend some more investment on it. And I think, this isn't, if you treated this as a pet, more than treating it as a cow in a field, you'll have better outcomes. A cow in a field, you might at best, if it snows, have to throw some hay out there, and you can leave it alone. Whereas a pet does need watering, it does need feeding, it does need defleeing, and they're some of the things that need to be. And we're very, very clear and vocal with organisations that want to go on this and be ready for this. But it does allow you to do things that waterfall won't allow you to do.
So again, I think we've run out of time, but I think looking at this as an investment and an asset to help to support the business moving forward. So look, it's really interesting. I know we could talk about this subject for a lot longer. Unfortunately, we've come to the end. So please, if it's piqued your interest, there's a lot of capability here. We'd love to carry on conversation. So, Alex, thank you very much. We're going to shut the session now, and then we'll join again at within 2 minutes. So there's our challenge to get everything set up and ready. So 10 to 3.
I will leave there.
Back. Cheers. Thank you. Bye bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.